Hi everyone, Philos Christos here. This is chapter 2 of my testimony video series called What the Lord Has Done in My Life. And the name of this chapter is Battle of the Mind. So this is chapter 2, Battle of the Mind. Hope you enjoy. And hope that this message also blesses you. Okay, so we're picking back up from second year university for me when I was at the University of Toronto. There were a bunch of things going on with me kind of in parallel to everything that was happening that I mentioned before about getting into school, about doing well in first year, and then, having some struggles in second year. So really early signs of issues were kind of, the summer after first year. I noticed I had a lot more energy. I was able to do so many more things. I was like working out during lunch. I was biking to and from work, and then biking from work to the gym, and then after work, I'd be doing like martial arts and all this stuff. And I had so much energy. And like even in the morning, I would like wake up and go for like 10-kilometer runs. Like it was crazy. The amount of energy I had was unreal. And at the time, I didn't know what was going on. So I was just like, oh, great, extra energy. Awesome. But yeah, this is kind of, second year. I would say even started in first semester is when my battle with mental health issues kind of started. So yeah, in first semester, I just remember having a lot of issues. I wasn't interested in my courses. I felt kind of like depressed, and there were all these strange things happening to me, and I didn't know what was going on. But things really kicked into gear kind of second semester, second year. Yeah, so what happened is my mom started having mental health issues. She had like a mental health crisis, and then my family wasn't telling me about it. And I have a strong connection to my mom, so it was really impacting me too. My mom was also battling thyroid cancer, so that was a big thing. That really impacted me, and yeah, so my mental health started to decline, and all these things were happening to me, and I didn't know what was going on at the time. I was having difficulty sleeping, started to do a lot of strange things. The whole experience kind of went by in a blur. It was almost like, being in a dream and seeing myself doing all these things. But yeah, even though I went through all of this, God's protection was still in my life in a mighty way. The Lord helped me during this difficult time, helped to make sure that there wasn't any major harm to myself or others, that nothing happened, that we were all safe. The climax of everything happened when the police came to my residence. And luckily at that time, my dad was there with me. It was literally like perfect timing. If my dad wasn't there with me, like physically, in my room spending time with me, it could have gone a whole different way, because, police were there and they brought me into the room of our kind of the leader of our floor at residence. So I'm grateful to God that my dad was there at that time, because it could have gone pretty badly for me if he wasn't. And then I just remember, after talking to the police, they put me in their cruiser, and then they kind of, brought me to, I think, the police station. Or actually, no, they didn't bring me to the police station. They brought me actually to a mental health facility in Toronto called CAMH. And that was kind of a holding place for me. I remember being there overnight so they could kind of assess my condition and what was going on with me. And then eventually I got transferred to CAMH, their actual facility. And I remember like almost every day, calling my parents, saying I was going to come home, wanting to come home. And then, there was a time when I actually escaped the facility and wanted to go home. And I had all my stuff in like a pillowcase. And again, this is God's protection. Like I passed by one of my friends. I actually knew him since high school. And, he was asking me like, what's going on? There were like police there with me, and I told him to call my dad. So I gave him my dad's phone number so he could call my dad and tell him what happened. And then basically, I think the police brought me back to, where I was. Yeah. And then, they kind of gave me an official diagnosis. that I had bipolar disorder, and I had gone through kind of psychosis, which is like a loss of reality. And then bipolar disorder has like manic and depressive episodes. I think first year, second year was more depressive, and then second semester was more manic. So what I was experiencing was mania. Yeah, so basically I stayed at this facility in Toronto, and after some months there, my family realized I wasn't getting better, and their rules were too loose, and they gave me access to all sorts of stuff like social media, video games, movies, TV, all these things that were just kind of adding fuel to the fire of my overstimulated mind, having a mania. So I was transferred to another facility closer to home. And here I recovered much faster because I started off in a really scary place called PICU, is like a personal intensive care unit. And in this place, there were certain personalities and people in there that really scared me. Like there was one guy in there, he was like a hooded figure, and he always like sat in darkness, and it was like super scary. It was like, yeah, and I just remember just being scared so bad that I wanted to get out of there ASAP, so I would do anything to get better. So that helped me. And over the next weeks and months, I finally found a medication that could stabilize my mental health, and I was transferred to what was called the Phoenix program, which was kind of a rehabilitation program for people who had gone through mental health issues or had mental health crises. People there were very fantastic and were helping me through everything, helped me to get back on my feet, and basically to the point where I could head home. And then when I got home, I just remember my mom gave me my first official Bible. It was a New International Version Bible. It was a nice Bible, and I just remember reading that Bible from front to back, at least once or twice that summer. And it was a tough summer. I had a lot of anxiety, and I was dealing with panic attacks and all of that. But I'm thankful that the Lord was there with me through everything, and that I grew even closer to the Lord. I read His Word. I read the Word of God, for myself for the first time, front to back. And yeah, so at that time I was 19. I was 19 years old when that happened. And so that's kind of this chapter 3 of my testimony called Battle of the Mind. And hope it blessed you guys. And I'll be posting episode 3, which is the short form of this video, and this is the long form. So thanks, everyone, and hope this blessed you, and looking forward to talking to you guys again. Okay, take care. Bye.